Good evening, everyone. I'm live from my Ottawa office, and I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on something that the entire country of Canada is watching right now, and that is the invocation of the never-before-used Emergencies Act in Canada. So I want to talk a little bit about what's happened over the last 24 hours and what you can anticipate seeing in Parliament on the Emergencies Act. So we've had a lot of questions in the office about what does this mean, what's happening, what are you doing in Parliament, so I just want to break it down for you. So the Emergencies Act has never before been invoked in Canada. This is precedent setting. I've actually been trying to do a lot of research today myself as a parliamentarian to find out what happens next and how best to support my constituents. But I'm going to start with the situation that has precipitated, or that Trudeau's trying to use to justify the use of the Emergencies Act, and that is the blockading of public infrastructure in Canada. Now, blockading of public infrastructure, that needs to end. I'm very thankful to see the blockades on the Ambassador Bridge and at the Coutts border crossing end. Those blockades need to end. There is the right to peacefully protest in Canada. The blockading of public infrastructure is something that needs to end. However, Justin Trudeau is using this to invoke the Emergencies Act. And for me, watching this crisis unfold over the last couple of weeks, Justin Trudeau has really abdicated his leadership. Instead of trying to bridge the divided country that he's inflamed over the last several months, over the last 2 weeks, Justin Trudeau's been absent. He has come out and the only thing that he said to the Canadian public has served to further inflame tensions. He has not responded to many provincial requests for resources to help de-escalate the situation. And to me, that's an abdication of leadership. It's a failure of leadership. Now, on top of that, he's coming to the Canadian public after failing to lead the country through this crisis and end it. He's asking for unprecedented power through the Emergencies Act. And to me, I don't understand why Canada would allow him power through the Emergencies Act when he's failed to use any of the authority or failed to lead us through the crisis given the authority that he already has. That's a huge problem for me, and I want to tell many of you who've been writing into my office, I hear you loud and clear on that. So what is going to happen with the Emergencies Act? This is my understanding. So the first step in invoking the Emergencies Act is a declaration of it coming into force, which Trudeau has already done. It's already gone through what we call like a notification in the Gazette, or a gazetting process. It's a way of him saying, I'm invoking this. He does have to table a proclamation of what measures he's undertaking, and I'm way oversimplifying this, but that has to come to Parliament. And that has not, I believe, as of this minute, when I'm giving you this video, that has not happened yet. This has to happen per the Act within a 7-day period. And then there has to be debate in the House of Commons. There's some question about how that debate occurs. So the Act says that it has to happen essentially without pause. It has to be the first order of business. And of course, I'm going to vigorously debate this. I am going to, raise all the points that I just raised with you. And frankly, I don't understand why he needs the Emergencies Act. Anytime he's had any sort of extra power, particularly through the pandemic, I believe he's abused it. I certainly would not want to give Justin Trudeau unfettered power. And we need to have debate. But there is a question of what that without continuation means. We're expecting the Liberals to try and ensure that this debate doesn't happen prior to a parliamentary recess week that's scheduled to start after the close of debate on Friday. And that's a huge problem. So for those of you who are constructively looking for something to do, we should be demanding that Parliament debate this per the Act for 7 days without disruption. And frankly, I believe that every member of Parliament who wants to speak on this bill should be able to speak on this bill, because it affects every single one of us. Now, last night, Justin Trudeau came out and said some of the things that he wanted to do with the Emergencies Act. They were very vague, but there's a few things that he has not really explained to the Canadian public. First of all, there's been some provinces who have said, we don't want, like, there's a part of the act is that they have to consult with the provinces, but that doesn't mean that they have to get the province's permission, right? But there's been several provinces who've said, nope, we don't want this. That's a huge concern for me. If a provincial government is saying, we don't want this applied to us, that should be respected. Provincial jurisdiction should be respected. The second thing is there's several tests that the Emergencies Act has to meet. And Justin Trudeau has not yet really justified to the Canadian public how the existing powers that are currently act in different parts of federal legislation can't manage the situation that our country is facing right now. He needs to at least present that to the Canadian public, but I am deeply skeptical that there's any need for that at this point in time. That said, what is happening in Ottawa, the illegal blockading of public infrastructure, is something that needs to end. Many Ottawa residents are deeply concerned about what is taking place here. And as the Law and Order Party of Canada, as the Conservative Party of Canada, we have to stand up for law and order as well. And the blockading of public infrastructure is something that needs to peacefully end. And it is long overdue. However, where's Justin Trudeau been on that over the last couple of weeks? Provincial governments have asked for resources. He's been silent. And I don't understand how giving Justin Trudeau more powers through the Emergency Act are going to fix this problem when he could have intervened in a variety of ways already. So this has to happen in debate. The other thing is that the Conservative Party of Canada put forward a motion this week with regard to ending federal COVID restrictions. It was a very sensible motion that called for the federal government to come up with a plan to end federal COVID restrictions. There is vigorous debate on that. You watched me give a speech on that in the House of Commons on this channel. The Liberals voted against that. So that is something that Justin Trudeau should be talking about as well. He should be looking at ways for us to get back to normal quickly. This is something I've advocated for over the course of the past year. And it's something that he needs to do right away too. That would help de-escalate tensions. The last thing that I'll say is that last night when he gave the announcement about invoking the Emergencies Act, he talked about measures that would track individual financial transactions related to some of the illegal blockades. I am deeply concerned about using the Emergencies Act, Justin Trudeau using the Emergencies Act to track individual financial transactions. We don't have more details about that at this point in time, but to me, that is a big overstep of government authority. I'm deeply concerned about that. I put out a statement today because I did table a bill in the House of Commons last week looking at the crypto asset sector. This is a big growing part of the global economy. It's something that Parliament hasn't dealt with before, and I believe that those who are working in the space should be informing public policy. What Justin Trudeau did last night was he started talking about this, like regulating, putting in place big regulations without any sort of consultation or explanation to the Canadian public about how he could justify those measures. Guys, this is a really very serious moment in Canadian history. I really would like to see illegal blockades of public infrastructure end. I would also like to see the federal government present a plan to permanently end federal COVID restrictions. We actually had a motion in the House of Commons about this over a year ago. The use of the Emergencies Act is unprecedented. It's never before been used in Canadian history. What I want to assure you tonight is that Conservative members of Parliament are working round the clock to make sure that Justin Trudeau is not using this opportunity as a power grab, that we are de-escalating tensions, that we are uniting this country, and we are coming up with a prosperous path forward for each and every one of you. I'm working hard here trying to figure out this situation for my constituents and stand up for them. I encourage you to share this video. And you can check back here for updates on what we are going to do. I wish I had more information for you at the time. As of this video right now, the government still hasn't provided details on the Emergency Act. They have to do that per the Act. They have 7 days to do that, but this is unacceptable. It shouldn't be, we shouldn't be waiting this long for this type of information, particularly given what's at hand. Check back here for updates. I'm just going to try and get as much information as I can, but look, we are working hard for you, and Justin Trudeau has failed. The situation that has unfolded in Canada is a failure. It's a failure of so many things. It's a failure of our healthcare system to see surge capacity. It's a failure of our Prime Minister to work to bring Canadians together during a time of crisis. It's a failure of law enforcement. It's a failure of the public to have proactive and constructive discourse with elected officials on concerns for them. These are all serious things that us as a Canadian public and us as elected officials are going to have to work together to solve over the period of time coming forward. We have to do that right away. But in the meantime, we do have to de-escalate the tension around these and illegal blockades. But certainly the invocation of the Emergencies Act is unprecedented in Canadian history, and there's many things that need to be vigorously debated and uncovered in its invocation. Working hard for you in Ottawa. Share this video. Have a great day.